Hello, my name is Daniel and I identify as homoromantic asexual. Today we're going to answer the question, what is asexuality? This video won't be comprehensive. I'm just going to be covering the basics of asexuality in order to give you a succinct yet accurate overview of what asexuality is. Let's start with a definition. Asexuality is defined as feeling little to no sexual attraction towards people of any gender. Sometimes it's defined as a lack of sexual attraction, but I prefer to avoid this language as it implies that there's something missing from you as an asexual person. But what is sexual attraction? Sexual attraction is defined as a desire to have sexual contact with someone. This is distinct from arousal, the physiological reaction to sexual stimuli, and libido, which is your overall desire for sexual activity. Let's break that down a bit with an example. Kyle is a gay man. He hasn't had sex in a while, so he's feeling a bit horny. This horniness is a manifestation of his libido. He meets Julia, but he doesn't feel sexual attraction towards her because she's a woman and he's only sexually attracted to men. This is despite him having a libido and currently being horny. But then he sees Bob. He is sexually attracted to Bob because A, Bob is a man, and B, he finds Bob sexy. Kyle's libido is now directed towards Bob because of his sexual attraction towards him. Plot twist! Bob is naked. Kyle's brain has interpreted Bob's nudity as a sexual stimulus, and therefore he has become aroused. It's worth noting that he may have got aroused even if he wasn't sexually attracted to Bob, since it is just a sexual stimulus in and of itself. But the arousal is most likely more intense because he is sexually attracted to Bob. Returning to asexuality, an asexual person doesn't feel sexual attraction, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a libido or they can't get aroused. At the end of the day, it's a sexual orientation, which is defined by how you feel attraction. Honestly, that's as simple as it gets. The only thing that determines whether you are asexual is whether you feel sexual attraction. However, there are a few things that society often conflates with sexual attraction, so I'm just going to go over those briefly in order to dispel some misconceptions. While I will be going over them quickly now, I'm going to cover these in more depth at a later date. First, here are some things that are different from asexuality. Celibacy. Celibacy is a choice to abstain from sex. A celibate person may feel sexual attraction but decide not to act upon it. This is different from asexuality, which is not a choice, it is an orientation. Medical disorders. There is nothing wrong with you if you are asexual. It is as valid as other orientations and is not caused by medical problems or mental illnesses. There are cases in which medical disorders or mental illnesses can reduce sex drive, but this does not necessarily affect your sexual attraction, and these people will often be distressed that their sex drive has been reduced. Some people will say that the following things preclude you from being asexual, but they do not. Dating. In the ace community, we often split up attraction into different forms, such as romantic and sexual attraction. This is known as the split attraction model. Therefore, people who are asexual can still want to date if they have a romantic orientation which is different from their sexual orientation. I, for example, identify as homoromantic asexual. I am romantically attracted to other men but sexually attracted to no one. Having a libido. As I discussed earlier, the bodies of asexual people work in the same way as anyone else. They can have a sex drive and they can want to satisfy that sex drive. It just won't necessarily be directed towards any one or thing in particular. I like to think of it as a directionless sex drive. Masturbating. Relating to the previous point, an asexual person who has a libido may want to satisfy that libido by masturbating. They may also choose to watch porn while doing so if it helps the process. Having sex. Though it may seem counterintuitive, there are many reasons why an asexual person may want to have sex. For example, they may want to please a partner, to satisfy their libido, or they simply find it physically pleasurable. The difference between these wants and sexual attraction is that sexual attraction is an inherent desire to seek out sexual contact with a specific person or gender, whereas the other wants that I mentioned have some sort of other reason for wanting it that aren't related to sex. And finally, here are some intersectional identities which may affect your experience of identifying as asexual, but are not inextricably linked. Autism. Autistic ace people exist, but their autism is not the cause of their asexuality. Also, their asexual identity is not any less valid because of their autism. Survivors of sexual trauma. Trauma survivors may find that their orientation has been affected by their experiences. That does not make their asexuality any less valid, and it does not mean that asexuality is caused by trauma in every case. Aromanticism. Asexuality and aromanticism are two separate identities. As I mentioned earlier with the split attraction model, someone can be aromantic, asexual, both or neither. They are not always linked, but for some people, they are. That covers some common misconceptions about asexuality, and I hope that it was a helpful overview. At the end of the day, it is the choice of the individual as to whether they want to identify as asexual or not. If that's the label that fits them best, that label should be respected. Identities help us better discuss our experiences and find people whose experiences are similar to our own. Going forward with this series, I'm going to be covering more Aspec identities and also looking into more depth about topics in the ace and aro communities. If there's a particular topic that you want to be covered, leave a comment down below this video. The next video in this series is going to be covering the split attraction model, a concept used in the ace community to separate attraction into different types. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was educational to you. If you think there's someone who could benefit from learning a bit more about asexuality, feel free to send them this video if you think it would help. I'm going to be doing these educational videos about once a month, once every 4 weeks, so please do look forward to the next one. I'll keep them all in the playlist. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. I post videos every Saturday, so if you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. That is all I had to say today. Have a wonderful day, and I shall see you next time.